Alright. What is up, Booger Beans? Welcome back to another episode of Adventures with Boog. On this episode, we are going to be basically getting the bus ready for winter. So luckily it is November 1st today, and we have had a nice warm Chinook come in. Today's supposed to be about 14-15 degrees Celsius, which means it is finally warm enough to spray foam the gray water tank underneath the bus. So yesterday we got all the wiring in for the two silicone heaters that we have underneath the gray water tank, as well as all the heat trace that we have underneath, or on the plumbing that's underneath the bus. So we got that all installed. And today, once it warms up, it's supposed to be warm enough around 2-3 o'clock today. Then we're going to spray the tanks underneath the bus. If we have enough left over, we're going to spray the stairwell. So not on the inside, but on the outside of the stairwell. We're going to try spray all that. And then hopefully we have just enough left over that we can spray around the rear windows in the bus. If we don't have enough left to spray the rear windows, that's fine. We'll just insulate them somehow, or get a couple cans of that great stuff and spray it around there. We're also going to be doing the venting for the water heater. So that vent, again, we need to be able to run the vent to the outside of the bus and then seal it up. Luckily we found some silicone that can be used down to -40, so it's not a big pressing issue with the warmth. But if we can get it sealed and everything when it's warm, the silicone seals better, it seals faster, and just all around a better option. So that's the plan for today, and let's head to the water heater for now and take a look at what's going on back there. Alright guys, so first things first, what we need to do is we've got the solar setup running and it's totally working well, so I can get rid of all of this extra solar wire. So we're going to take that, we'll turn it, run it across the roof and down into our solar controller on this side of the room, just to clean that up a little bit, get all those wires kind of out of the way. Next thing what we have to do is put in our ducting for the hot water heater. So what we're using is aluminum ducting. You can use galvanized ducting to do this. The reason we're using aluminum is I personally believe that galvanized ducting gives off a smell and a toxic odor when it is heated up, whereas aluminum does not do that. So correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, it does. So when we're using it for something that's going to get warm and basically be warm all the time, I don't want to use that galvanized ducting. So that's why we've gone with aluminum. Aluminum melting point is like 600 degrees Celsius, and the hot air coming out of here is only like, I think, about 200 degrees Celsius, if I remember correctly. So we should have no issues with it melting or anything like that. We're also going to be running fiberglass insulation over top of this ducting to ensure that we're not going to melt or burn anything inside the bus. Also, on top of this, we are using something called high temp silicone RTV sealant. So that silicone's rated for 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. So again, I think that's about 600 degrees Celsius. I'm just doing these numbers quickly in my head. So we'll be sealing all the joints, all the seams with that silicone RTV to make sure that there's no gases coming out of here. Also, be careful when you order your water heater. Make sure you check what size this outlet is, because on this water heater, the outlet size is actually 4 1/4 inches, which I can't get 4 1/4 inch ducting. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. So what we did is we flared out the bottom of this fitting, put a band clamp around it, and then we'll seal that all with RTV and everything like that. I'm not super worried about leaking there, because we have huge holes right here in the side of the water heater that's going to be sucking air through and blowing it out. So I'm not super worried about it leaking from those little holes or anything like that. And also, again, we're going to be sealing it all and having it be as safe as we can have it, I guess. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out here. We're going to run on a 45 out the side of the bus. And then we'll have an elbow just before the side of the bus and run straight out the side. On the outside of the bus, we have we're going to be putting in a vent cap, just to clean it up, make it look nice. And then again, we'll be using high temp silicone all the way around it. And when we run through The wood here, again, this pipe will be insulated, so I'm not too worried about it burning anything here. All of this insulation that we are using is fireproof insulation, so it doesn't burn. It won't have any issues with the heat or anything like that. Fiberglass insulation generally itself doesn't burn. Fiberglass is not flammable, so I'm not too worried about that at all. We will probably have to relocate these wires a little bit. We might have to pop the clip here and then kind of slide them up or something, just to ensure that we don't have any issues with the heat, because the wires will have issues with heat. The plastic on the wires will melt if they get too hot, so we got to be careful with that. And then also the wood. We don't want this, basically, I would say probably at least 1 inch of clearance, if not 2 inches of clearance all the way around the ducting, just to make sure we don't have any issues with the wood. But again, the pipe will be insulated all the way to the wall, so we shouldn't have any issues. One thing you might also want to look into is backdraft. So what happens is, if you heat all this air inside the bus and warm it up, that air is less dense than the cold air outside of your bus. So what happens is the cold air wants to push into the bus. So if you have basically a opening to the outside of your bus, that cold air will just push right in there, and it could push the carbon monoxide that possibly could be produced by this unit into your bus. So you don't want that to happen. So if you don't have a setup like we have, where we're actually taking outdoor air into our heaters and then forcing that outdoor air throughout the bus, which actually positively pressurizes the bus, preventing those issues from happening, you might want to get a vent cap that has a backdraft damper in it, just in case you have something happen and it sucks back and pushes that carbon monoxide into your bus. I'm not really worried about it, again, because we have the system in place where it's generally going to be pushing air out that hole naturally, and then the furnace itself is going to be pushing air out that hole as well. So I'm not super worried about it, but it is something to look into depending on how you have your bus set up. So I think that's where we're at. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the description or in the comments down below, and we'll do our best to answer them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this all set up, and we will check back in with you probably when we're cutting a hole in the side of the bus. So let's get to it. Alright, Beans, so putting the vent in the bus has been an absolute disaster. We spent $40 on a brand new hole saw, and it basically burnt out the teeth in like 10 seconds. So really mad about that. We cut a really janky hole up there, and it looks awful. So, but we're at the hottest point of the day, basically. We've reached about, I think it said 16, right?
Yeah, it was 16.
So we've reached 16.
On November 1st.
And the sun is beating on this side of the bus, so it's really as hot as it's going to get. It says to have everything above 16 for best results, so we've kind of reached that. So what we're going to do is crank those bad boys open, squirt some of it out into a waste container that we don't have here, and then we are going to spray the tank underneath the bus. And if we have some left over, we'll try and spray the stairs. If we have some left over, then we might try and spray the windows in the back of the bus. If we don't get that far, we don't get that far. But yeah, let's get to it. That went really well. We got all of the tank sprayed at least an inch thick. We got all of our plumbing under the bus complete. We got the stairwell complete, and we got the rear windows all done and around.
And the front of the bus.
Yeah, and the firewall, the back side of the firewall all done too. So yeah, that went really well. It was really easy to do, just kind of spray it.
Yeah, like there's a million pages of directions, but it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, turn on the things and spray it. Besides the amount that's in my hair, I don't know if you guys can see it on camera.
Oh, go closer. No, they can't.
Okay, well there's a whole bunch in my hair.
There's a lot in Tanner's hair.
So I might have to go bald for the next episode, so we'll see what happens tonight. Definitely wear clothes that you're willing to throw out. But now we are back to the vent.
Lucky us.
So this thing has been a real pain in the butt already, but we've got it cut to size. So now what we need to do is goop a whole bunch of high heat silicone around it.
Smush it in there.
Put the vent cap on, and then we'll screw it to the roof, and hopefully it's tight enough and close enough to the roof that we don't have to do a whole bunch of patching or anything like that. It leaves about, right now it's about 1/4 inch at the top, so I'm hoping that when I screw it, it will just kind of bend it on there.
And the silicone will help seal it up too.
Yeah, the silicone will seal it too. If you had butyl caulk, I think that would work really well. I don't think we have any of those ribbons around here anywhere. I think we used it all up on the door, didn't we? You remember that white stuff we had?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you had some of that, that could work really good. But we don't. So we're just going to put the silicone and we're going to goop it on there. And then we'll be doing the rest of the venting. My head's so itchy. It's just going to annoy me, even though it's like...
Do you want to go try and put coconut oil on your head?
I don't think it'll come out. I think I'm just going to shave it later. All right, so yeah, let's get this in. Can you stop trying to pull stuff off of me? So we got this vent all installed how we want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and silicone all the seams all the way down to here. So all this elbow will all be silicone. I'm not going to silicone this elbow yet because we have to remove the water heater to put in the face on this wall. So I will still have to be able to remove this. That being said, this is like a band clamp on the bottom here, so I could always just pop that off and then take it off. But I'm just going to only silicone up to there, and then that will be all solid. Then I'm going to fix this wiring here, and then I'm going to do the light switches and stuff that we have to do for our heat trace wiring that's on the plumbing below, as well as our heating pads that are on our gray water tank. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Alright guys, so we got that wiring wrapped up, running nice and smooth into there. As well on this side here, we got this put into one electrical box. So all the switches are set up. So we've got our light switches here, and then we've got the pump, and then we've got our tank heaters here. So that's all set up and complete. So very good. We are getting one light that is flickering on us. And I don't know why it's flickering on us, so I'm going to have to figure that out. I think it has to do with the batteries charging too high, because they charge to 29 volts. And since we don't have a regulator between the batteries and that light, what I think happens is since there's not enough lights on that circuit, it ends up not drawing enough and basically over-voltaging that one light. So as the voltage drops, the flicker seems to go away. So I think that's part of the problem, but we might just put a resistor in line, and then that will help to reduce that and cause less issues. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, go down, hit that like button. If you have any comments or concerns, just leave them down in the comment sections below. And check out shopawb.com for our latest merchandise if you haven't already. And as always, guys, have a great night, and thanks for watching.